Alright guys, well, it's been quite the adventure. I started out 3 days ago with welding up the two pieces of this pan, and that went pretty smoothly. I TIG welded it all, and then I actually went back, and after all that was welded up, I actually went back and ran another bead over the top of the first one, simply to let me let some air out. Let me open a valve to let air in. It's pressurizing. Simply just to make sure I had a good bead all the way down through that seam, and then the corners, and up the sides. Now this pan is 71 by 71, or just 71 1/8 or something, and I think it's 4.5 inch tall sides. When you do the math on it, it comes out about 98 gallons that it would take to fill it all the way to the brim. Well, we've got two 55-gallon drums underneath, which, sitting sideways the way they are, we're not going to get 110 gallons in them, but I think we can get 85 to 90, so we'll see for sure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up, and when we start getting a little bit of air, or excuse me, a little bit of water out the air line, we know it's as full as it can get. Let me back this camera off. Okay, so right now, water's going down that drain, coming through this 1.25 inch pipe, down to this T, and it's filling both barrels. And it'd be awesome if they were clear so we could see it, but it's filling both barrels, and it'll fill them equally because of where the fittings are. The 3/4 inch line here is for air to pressurize the tanks so that they will push the water back up. And from everything I've read, it only takes 5 to 10 pounds of pressure, and these barrels are good to about 30 to 40 psi before people start having trouble with them popping seams and stuff. So we should have no issue with it. Now the lowest we can get the water out is going to be, when it gets, once it's clear, it gets to the water gets below or to the top of this fitting. That's it. It'll start blowing air out instead of water. So we won't be able to take it any lower than the top of the fitting. And we can't bring the water up any higher than this fitting because it's going to run water into this airline. And then on the back side, we've got a bunch of valves, and I'll show you, or 2 valves and the fittings, and I'll show you all that. But so we're going to fill water up now until we start to get a little water out of this airline. Then we know the tanks are as full as they can be. And whatever that is, that's how much we get unless we add a 3rd tank. Which I really don't want to have to do. 2 things I've decided I'm going to do that I wish I'd have had the stuff, but I've already been to town twice today and I wasn't interested in going yet again. And that's, I'm going to put a valve in this line, and the idea there is, right now, to keep the water in the bed or in this table, you have to keep air pressure on it. So if you have an air leak, you're going to lose water. It's going to drain back. Hopefully we don't have an air leak, but that would solve it. We'd have a valve here. We could just close the valve once get it up to the height we want with air, turn the air off, come over here and close the valve, and that would solve it. The other thing I want to do is, somewhere in this line, I want to put a T, and I want to put a hose bib fitting so that I could drain these tanks into a hose, and run it outside and drain these out should I ever need to. I did put a union up here on the main line, and that's so I can disconnect it from the table. I can slide my forklift under there, pick it up, and haul it out of here. So I think it's all going to work. We'll just see as we start to fill this. Okay, so what we have here is our airline in and our shutoff valve for the air. We open that, air goes in from the compressor, begins to fill the tanks from the top down, essentially, with air. That pressurizes them and will start forcing the water back up to the system. We have this line, which is basically a dump line. So normally this would be kept closed. Right now, while we're filling the tanks, this is what's letting air back into the system. And so whenever the table's being in use, you'd have that closed, and whenever you want to let the water out of the table, then you open this, whether this is hooked up or not. You could also, if the air hose wasn't hooked up, you could also open this. It does either one. But, what we're going to look for right now is when we get just a few dribbles of water out of here, we know those tanks are as full as they can be, and we're going to call it good enough. A 2-inch fitting here that goes down and bells down to 1.5 inches, and then underneath, you can see the bell, and that's all welded in. I didn't even try and screw those in or anything. They're welded together and welded to the table. Then we have basically by using a T, we cause a trap so that should we get any, and we will over time, we're going to get some sludge in the table from the slag and all that. So that'll give us a way to get some of that out that collects in the drain. And then once we've tested the system a couple times and made sure it does everything we want it to do, I will probably drain the water out and then add, well, I may not even have to drain, I may have to drain a couple gallons, but I'm going to add a antifungal, antibacterial. I'm going to add some food coloring dye so the water, I'm going to use blue so that it's bright blue so somebody wouldn't think they could use it as potable water. And I'm also going to add some anti-rust, some rust inhibitor, anti-rust. So as we get close to winter, we will have to add some antifreeze probably. It doesn't get terribly cold inside the shop here on the days when I'm not using it, but it will cool off enough that you'd have to be concerned with freezing. And that's it. Actually, I may go ahead and shut this off just to test it, see where we get. We can always add a little more water. Let me go shut the water off. I'll be right back. Just kind of waiting to see how long it takes for all of this water, and if it all will drain out or if we've got a low spot anywhere. But I think the drain when I was welding it, I think it's kind of just a tad higher than the surrounding bends, the breaks in the metal there, that it may not 100% drain, but I bet it's very close. The other thing is I haven't leveled the table yet, so we may have, some pitch issues. What I'm going to do is, I started telling you, it's been quite an ordeal. I started welding this 3 days ago. And then once I got it welded, I got out here and I was like, well, I need to be able to weld some feet on the table, and I need to be able to, just do some other stuff. I need 220 out here for that. I didn't have 220 out here except for over at my air compressor. So I got started on the project of adding some more electrical to the building, which it needs, and it needs a lot more. But so on the front wall where the doors are, I added some 220 circuits and a couple 110 circuits while I was pulling wire. I may as well pull some 12 gauge. So I pulled number 6 for all my 220s, and then pulled some 12 gauge for the 110s, and I got 2/3 of what I expected to do done, and then I wanted to get back to this table and get it done. And so I spent over 2 days running electrical, and of course it's not cheap by the time you buy all the wire and the fittings and the boxes and everything. So so I was able to get back on this morning. Early this morning I got it all tied into the circuit breaker box, and then was able to get out here and get started on this again. So I'm all excited. I have to go back to work tomorrow, so I was really excited. I wanted to test the table. So let's not putting it off anymore. I'll zoom that camera in a little bit, and we'll put air on this thing and see if we can bring the water level up. We're going to add, I don't have a regulator on here, which is something I do need to add, but we're just going to get it until we start seeing some air or some water flow. So we got to close the backup valve. Start adding a little air pressure. And here it comes. How's that for awesome? Let's see, if I turn the air off, what happens? It should keep coming out until the pressure equalizes. That's awesome. I mean, you know, in theory it should work, but it's really cool when it actually does. We decided there's a couple changes we're going to make. We're going to add a shut-off valve, essentially, so we can stop the water flow in case we had an air leak. I'm going to add a drain so that we can drain and change the fluid occasionally if we need to. And then I'm going to add an air regulator on this side, just so I make sure I don't overpressure the, you know, it would suck to rupture one of those tanks, because not only would I have to replace the tank, but all of the water in that tank and anything that was in the table obviously is going to head that way because it's the point of least resistance, and so we're going to lose, you know, 50 plus gallons of water out onto the floor and then have to clean it up. So there we go. That's the level of the, you can hear the air bubbling up, and what's happening now is we had enough water in there that as we got that much air pressure in it, the air is going out the 1.25 inch line. So this is how full the tank is with the amount of air that we have. So I'm going to go turn the water back on, and we're going to bring this water level up, because we know we are right now, the tanks are as empty as they can get with fluid. This water is cold. We have irrigation out here, so this is just irrigation water. It's not city water, which it means it doesn't cost me anything to fill this 100 gallons or whatever we get, but it's cold. It comes from the river through the ditch, and so right now we got about 3/4, almost 1 inch of water on that end. Yeah, we got less than half that over here, so that side is low. This side over here is low. I have to weld the feet on and go ahead and bring this side up, because basically the water would run out this edge before we'd ever get it full. You know, it would be half or 3/4. Okay, so we're just about as full as it's going to get, and I was testing one of my ribs, or whatever you'd call it, that holds up the material, and even the tips of these are already underwater. So I think we've got more than enough water to do, to make the table what I wanted. Obviously it's holding all the weight with no problem. And then what I'll be doing is adding that grid work in there in the very near future, so that then I can lay some plate on there. Right now the water on this end is starting to touch the bottom of the torch holder. So no matter what, that's as much water as we'd ever want in there. And I don't really want it to run over, so let me get that out. So let me go turn the water off just so we're not wasting it. And we'll let it kind of settle for a minute, and then we'll time it and see how long it takes to drain. Okay, and I know there'll be a question about how I'm going to you know, once you drain the water out of here and it's back in the tanks, how are you going to cut the pipes? You know, unless you're just going to make a big mess. Is I used a 2-inch reducer coupling it goes 2 inch down to 1 1/4 inch to make my drain, and I left the threads in there for the 2-inch, so I can go get a 2-inch plug and just screw a 2-inch plug in there, or a 2-inch piece of PVC that's taller than the height of the water, and either way it's not going to drain. So have a couple options there to keep the water in the table or just to dispose of all the water. This water has some, the tanks I was given had some RV antifreeze, so that's why it's tinted a color. So for me that didn't matter because I was going to have to add some antifreeze anyway. But all right, let's hack a timer, and we'll let the air in or let the air out, and we'll see how long this takes. 1, 2, 3, go. And it's pretty cool. It gets a pretty good little whirlpool thing going in the middle of it. I drained a little bit out part way just to see how it would work.
You see it just starting to swirl now. And interesting.
Now, if I've used it a 3/4 inch and it's going out a 3/8 inch fitting or 3/8 inch valve, if I changed that valve up to 3/4 inch, this would drain a lot faster. If I changed it all the way up to 1.5 inches, it would drain really fast, because it can only drain as fast as you can let air out of the barrels. So this is looking pretty good. I mean, we're down over 1 inch, and it's less than or just over a minute. So based on that, it's going to take maybe 4 minutes to drain. I don't see any problem with that pace, and it's controllable, because if you had gotten a little more water in it than I wanted, I was trying to fine tune it. All I'd have to do is play with the air valve until I had it just exactly where I wanted it. And the good news is we didn't have any air leaks. It sat here, filled all the way up, and over time, we might have found a small air leak or something that would drain it overnight, but certainly nothing that was defeating putting water in it. And we don't have any water leaks. That's the other good thing. It means all my welds are good. All my fittings are tight. And we'll see how much water we can get out of here. I'm hoping all of this water will go into those tanks. If not, we'll have to drain some water out, and we'll have a maximum amount we can get to, which may mean we may have to adjust the height of our standoffs. We're 2.5 minutes, and we have maybe 1.5 inches of water to go. So we're over halfway. And after we get all the other peripherals set up, and I'm going to have to move some stuff around because I need to set up a computer fairly close. I'm probably just going to set it up down the way there, clear off some of that stuff, set up the plasma cutter underneath the table most likely, and then I'll just have to build a short stand for it. And for now, I still have to run everything off of extension cord, 220 extension cords from the other side of the building, but eventually there'll be 220 along this back wall. Okay, we're 4:15. Anyway, so eventually I'll get power 220 along the back wall out here. And once I have that, then I'll hardwire in or not hardwire, but I'll run cable all the way over to the table itself, and probably from overhead, and then catch, add to my boom on the other side. I'll show you that in a minute once we get done with the water. I know it's super exciting to watch water drain, but I'm enjoying it.
4:55.
All right, we're 5 minutes right now, and we got maybe 1/4 inch of water left, so maybe it's a 6-minute drain. we'll see. So what I was saying is I will put 220 down this wall sometime, probably this winter or whatever, when I get some more time that I can play around out here and do stuff for me. And then, all right, so we are maxed out. We're going to now be draining water out of the table that the barrels can't hold. So less than 1/4 of an inch. We're probably going to have I'm going to guess here we're going to end up with about 10 gallons of water on the ground. I hoped all that water would go into those barrels, but we got within 1/4 of an inch. And there's maybe a 1/2 inch out there in the middle. But I think we had way more water in the table than we're going to ever be able to actually use. So I don't think we'll end up adding a 3rd tank or anything like that. I'll find the slope in my floor now. Well, I'm stopping the clock at 8 minutes because I quit paying attention once we started running water out. So, but I'm going to guess 6 minutes. And this can drain itself, and it'll probably take it 20 minutes or more to drain down because it doesn't have access to a good air source. Fact is, it's pretty cool that it worked the way it was designed and no leaks. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope somebody out there that's been wanting a table, you saw me, you didn't see the original size, but basically double the length, same width. Right now it's 72 by 72 inside to inside, but the usable space is basically 60 by 60. So my next set of days off, I'll try and get out here and we'll try and get the slats in here and run a cut on something. I don't know what, but I always find something to do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching Allison Customs Project Car TV. Like us on Facebook and check us out at AllisonCustomsOnline.com.